Alrighty, welcome back. I finally noticed that the inside of the parlour had gone quiet again. Everyone had sunk into their favourite sofas, some deep in thought, some irritated, some acting depressed. Except Maria. Maria was once again enjoying the TV as if she'd never left it. It looked like she'd found the commercials more fun than the boring program, and she happily yelled "ooh ooh" and giggled. I stared at each person's appearance in turn. If there isn't a 19th person, the culprit must be in this room. Indeed. And me! It's me! I am the culprit! Wait, what about Natsuhi? Genji? Right now, Natsuhi's searching the mansion with the servants, right? Then we shouldn't say in this room. Yeah, no, that was a stupid phrase. In this mansion is where the culprit has to be. After all, it's possible Aunt Natsuhi was behind this, and we still can't deny that one of the servants might be the killer. Anyone could be guilty. Still, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest sure are taking their time. Of course, it's not a small mansion, but isn't this taking a little too long to just walk around checking the windows and doors? Just as I was thinking this, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest returned. Not one of them was missing. But our relief was short-lived. Everyone looked at Aunt Natsuhi in shock. The talk I'd had with Aunt Eva started to creep back into my mind. The possibility that the culprits had enough in numbers or weapons to kill all of those 6 at once. Oh! Hey! It's a nice gun you got there. Forgive me if I've startled you. I brought this to be prepared for the worst. Oh, yeah, that looks prepared. After all, that thing in Aunt Natsuhi's hand was a rifle. What? Looks like a shotgun. At a glance, its silhouette looked a lot like a hunting gun, but it was unusually short and kinda like a kid-sized weapon. However, it had a weightiness to it that made it clear it was no kid's toy. How the hell would he know how much it weighed? That gun is Kinzo-san's, isn't it? Did you know about it? She's looking badass. That's right. I remembered it was in Father's old collection and I managed to find it. Whoa, awesome. Natsuhi-san, is that thing real? Yes, it's real. Oh, the headache's back. It can fire live ammunition. I would hope so. Long ago, Father used it to scare away wild birds. Can you see Kinzo leaning out the window of his room? Get off of my lawn! Ah, that takes me back. He was shooting at his own kids to get off the lawn. Get off of my lawn! Where did you find that thing? That would explain a lot. No matter how much I asked him to let me touch it, he never let me even lay one finger on it. Oh my. Oh, grandfather had one of these? I didn't know that. Long ago, grandfather was really addicted to cowboy films. That generation really liked this kind of rifle. Cowboy films are awesome. Is that a Winchester? But I've never seen one that short before. Ah, I remember. It's that gun. That really takes me back. That's the one Steam McQueen fired off in Wanted, Alive or Dead. Father sure has good taste. Oh, Genji. It is an item the master ordered specially from America long ago. As you can see, it is a working gun, so please don't tell anyone about this. He was quite fond of it right after he managed to acquire it. It seems the workings that ejected the cartridges were more interesting to him than shooting it, and he played around with it back in the forest all the time. Ho 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 ho. Still, it's rather disturbing. Are you sure you should be dragging this out? This is to prepare for the worst. I just want to see Natsuhi in a zombie apocalypse. There was probably more than one offender involved. Furthermore, these horrible people killed 6 of us, including my husband. Yes, a terrible loss. I have a responsibility to protect everyone until tomorrow, in my husband's place. Yeah, I'm gonna put money on the woman with the giant gun. As Natsuhi-san said this, she slumped down into one of the sofas and took a deep breath. She had been trying to find grandfather, as well as check the doors and windows. Since grandfather wasn't with her, she probably still didn't know where he was. I carefully checked all of the doors and windows throughout the mansion. However, we must now be prepared for anything. Everyone, I think it would be best if we all remained here. Oh, good point. If everyone's gathered here, then we can all feel more secure by keeping an eye on each other. What do you mean by that, Eva-san? Where'd you put the gun? Nothing really. I'm just agreeing with your opinion, aren't I? There was a stormy atmosphere between the two of them. Yeah, I wonder why. If you think about who was the most suspicious from the inheritance problem standpoint, Aunt Eva was the obvious answer. However, there was no proof that Aunt Natsuhi was innocent. No, if you view Beatrice's letter as one of grandfather's complicated pranks and think of this crime as just an extension of that, there's more than enough reason to suspect even grandfather. We already saw that it was all his work. Also, Aunt Natsuhi thought the criminal was on the outside. But Aunt Eva thought that the criminal was on the inside. Why not both? In short, it was a question of whether or not a 19th person exists. Stop summing everything up, god damn it! Yes, I know, the same question has been repeated endlessly. I know, since last night's dinner with the letter from the witch who called herself Beatrice. So, was the culprit among us or not? And did the witch Beatrice exist or not? If you assume that something as stupid as a witch can't exist, you're basically saying that one of these relatives here who share a common bloodline is the culprit. If that was too unpleasant, it'd be much more comfortable to simply accept the fairy-like tale character of the witch. A witch? A witch drawing a bizarre magic circle and offering human sacrifices? If I could accept that rubbish, I'd be able to trust all the people in this room. Man, I would not trust them as far as I could throw them. However, damn common sense got in the way. He kept repeating that witches don't exist. In that case, the culprit must be among us. In the middle of the seeming endless rain, none of us could break the silence. Ooh. But can you break the glass? What's the time? 1 p.m. Alright. Lunch ended and the servants removed the tableware and went to the kitchen. The wind and rain neither weakened nor strengthened and the island remained cut off from the outside world. At first it seemed as though Natsuhi planned to stop anyone from taking a step outside the room, but when it came time to prepare lunch, she finally realized this would be impossible. However, in order to avoid having anyone alone in the kitchen, she told the 3 servants to go together. Because of that, the servants were the first ones given the right to leave the stuffy parlor, which had been packed with 11 people. Since breakfast had immediately followed that terrible incident preventing most of us from eating much, everyone tore into their lunches in silence. I will wash the dishes so you can rest a while, Kanon-kun, Genji-san. Do you want something to drink? I don't need anything. Kanon? I don't need anything either. You two must have been so busy, and so early in the morning. It's Kumasawa-san, isn't it? It's no wonder you're worn out. The only noise was that of Kumasawa washing the dishes, which resounded throughout the kitchen. Genji and Kanon sat in some chairs a short distance away, their eyes lightly closed. Just as Kumasawa had said, those two had probably built up a great deal of fatigue. But that didn't mean they could let it show in front of the relatives. Avoiding that was one of their virtues. After the silence had continued for some time, Kanon opened his mouth and muttered, "Shannon. Why did she have to die in such a horrible way?" Genji's like, Forget about the manner of her death. It was nothing more than bad luck. Yeah, that's some bad luck. You're right. It was nothing more than bad luck. They both fell silent once again. Kanon's expression was filled with grief. To think that Shannon-chan's actually dead. I still can't believe it. Poor thing. Not being able to see her again feels like a lie. I just wanted to see her smiling face one more time. Kumasawa spoke with her back facing them. Sure, Kumasawa-san, I'm onto you. After all, Kumasawa hadn't seen Shannon's corpse, so she had no trouble mentioning Shannon's face. When Kanon heard those words, it reminded him again of how only half of Shannon's face had been left, and his grieving expression twisted even further. Funny, he looks exactly the same. Why did Beatrice-sama do that to Shannon? If she wanted a sacrifice, there were plenty of others to choose from. Because she was making a point. Why? Why? It was nothing more than bad luck. If we were less lucky, you or I might have been lying out there instead of Shannon. Or it could have been someone else entirely. Everything is left to fate. Genji-sama, you said the door to Madame's room was stained with traces of something like blood, right? The same substance that was painted on the shutter. Indeed, it was an unsettling mark. Almost as though someone with blood-stained fingers had tried to pull out the doorknob. No, scratch through the door. That sort of unpleasant mark. So does this mean Beatrice-sama came to visit Madame's room and tried to open the door, but couldn't? Outsmarted by Maria, the 9-year-old. Genji thought back to the time he had seen those traces of blood on the door to Natsuhi's room. With the substance sticking to the door around the doorknob and the marks of something scratching against the door, it had definitely appeared as though someone had tried to open the door, but couldn't. How did the madam avoid being chosen as a sacrifice? If only she'd been chosen, Shannon wouldn't have had to die. That's debatable. It feels like she was picked because she would piss off George the most. Just then, a loud, sharp noise came in from the hall. Both of them turned around, surprised. That's a pretty interesting chat you're having there. Let me join in too. Before any of the servants realized it, Battler was standing in the doorway to the kitchen. Battler-sama, how rude of us. Genji-san and Kanon-kun stood up, surprised, and hastily bowed. But I didn't care about stuff like that. I was more concerned with continuing the discussion. It really throws me how they keep switching third and first person. I told them I was going to the bathroom, so they let me go. I thought I'd suffocate if I was locked up in that room any longer. I was about to come ask you guys for some water, but then I overheard something pretty interesting. You don't need to bow your heads or anything. Please let me hear the rest. That just now wasn't really... I've been listening to you for a while. Don't try to hide it now. Kanon-kun is gonna cut a bitch. So I'll ask directly. Who is this Beatrice? She's supposed to be a witch from a kid's story, but it doesn't look that way now. Kanon-kun averted his gaze. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk about this, which only made me want to ask even more. While making an effort to smile, I grabbed the collar of his shirt. Last night, this would have been none of my business, but after this morning, everything's changed. Now that Dad and the rest have been killed, this is totally my business. I have the right to listen to this suspicious story, don't I? I glared into Kanon's eyes as he continued to avert his gaze in apparent pain. Since there was a big difference in our heights, Kanon had to stand on his toes, and it looked like it hurt a bit. Battler-san, stop being a douchebag. Please let go of him. Kanon-san isn't really hiding anything. Then you won't have any problem talking about it, right? It's lonely being out of the loop, you know. When I tried to further twist up his collar, Genji-san cut between us and spoke. In his expression were faint traces that he'd made up his mind to do something. Apparently, he had no intention of hiding it. I can tell you about it. Kanon only hesitated because you might have taken it badly, Battler-sama. Hesitating, huh? Not very manly of you. Whatever it is you're talking about, it's even more unpleasant having it kept a secret. Tell me about it. It's not like we have anything better to do before tomorrow comes. A slightly spooky story might be the best way to avoid getting bored. Genji-san and Kanon-kun looked at each other, then nodded as though they'd decided to talk. Understood. Please ask us anything. We will talk. Right. Then I'll ask. Who in the world is Beatrice? All I know is that she's a witch who lives in the forest of Dokkenjima. I've heard it's a story grandmother or someone invented to keep people out of the dangerous forest. Is that wrong? No, it isn't wrong. It's as you say, Beatrice is a witch who dwells in the forest of Dokkenjima. Battler-sama, I don't expect you to believe this all of a sudden, but Beatrice-sama exists. She is a real person, the one who gave Master a vast amount of gold and who worked by his side for many years. Huh? Ah, come on. Is grandfather paying you to repeat everything he says? I laughed like it was a joke, but neither Genji-san nor Kanon-kun laughed. Not even Kumasawa-ba-chan, who was avoiding my eyes, flustered, as she started washing the dishes. So, unfortunately, I was the only one laughing. Painfully. Bitterly. I see. That's why Genji-san refused to mention it. If you really mean it, of course I'd take it badly. So you're saying that a person named Beatrice actually exists? Yes. She has been working for the Master since before the mansion was built on this island. She has most likely been working for him even longer than I have. What do you know? Kirie-san's theory was off. Grandfather really did have a confidant called Beatrice. Is that person on the island now? Oh, clearly. Yes. I believe that she is here. That's a vague way to say it. I guess that means you haven't seen her face today or yesterday. That is correct. It is extremely difficult to say, but, Kanon-kun once again dropped his gaze, avoiding my eyes. Come on, don't just stop there. That's like freezing an inch before the blow, right? What? I urged him on jokingly again. However, it looked like Kanon was still confused as to whether he should speak or not. Then Kumasawa-ba-chan whispered. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! You cannot see her face, because Beatrice-sama has no form. Well, that's no fun. She has no... What did you just say? Beatrice-sama has no body. What? Therefore, unless Beatrice-sama wishes it, common people like us are not able to see her form. I have heard that the portrait shows what Beatrice-sama looked like back when she had a human form. It seems he yearned for that figure so much he would often stand in front of that portrait. Ho ho ho. Beatrice-sama sometimes shows herself by changing her form into glittering butterflies. On the rare occasion that you spot them somewhere in the mansion, there is a rule that you absolutely mustn't chase after them. It is whispered that you will meet with disaster if you do. Yeah, if I saw glittering butterflies in my house, I'm probably not gonna chase it. In fact, there was a servant who broke that rule and quit because of a great injury. Wait a sec. Are you kidding me? Are you all serious about this? Battler-sama, Beatrice-sama has already arrived. Such language may be unwise. Considering everything Battler has said up until this point, he is screwed. Beatrice-sama does not like it when she is profaned. Big word. If you doubt her existence, you will surely meet with disaster. Battler-san, you probably find this topic unpleasant. But you know what? Beatrice-sama does exist. She exists. Beatrice-sama hates people who doubt that. Can't you tell, Battler-sama? Beatrice-sama has already arrived here. Come on, quit it. I'm weak against that stuff. Enough with the cheap threats. However, there was no trace of a joke in the eyes of the three servants. On the surface, I laughed and tried to look unconcerned, but I was quickly starting to sober up. Their eyes were also sobering up fast. Battler-san, I beg that you stop profaning Beatrice-sama. Please trust me. Kumasawa-ba-chan, who was usually cheerful and would always tease people, now spoke with a totally serious face. Well, even if you say she exists, I don't see anything. Are you trying to say she's standing right next to me or something? Quit joking around. Just then, that unnerving laugh suddenly filled the kitchen. I love her creepy face. When I turned around, Maria was standing there by the entrance. But her expression and the feeling about her presence, felt exactly the same as the servants. Whether your wavelength matches or not is determined at birth. Man, she looking crazy. Battler, you were born with a mismatched wavelength. That's why you can't see her. That's why you can't meet with her. And that's why you can't talk to her. Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi-hi. You're the type Beatrice hates the most. Oh dang. Maria laughed like it was funny, but it sounded extremely eerie. It was almost like she was laughing at me because I alone didn't understand. Do you want to know about Beatrice? Beatrice is a 1,000-year-old witch. With all the demons at her command, she can harness the power of alchemy to create the Philosopher's Stone and a vast quantity of gold. Grandfather built up all the vast wealth of the Ushiromiya family by making a contract with her. Yesterday, I read Beatrice's letter, didn't I? That was real. Well, I guess it's pointless for me to try and force you to believe. After all, it looks like you were born without a trace of the sixth sense. Oh dang, Maria's going in. Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi-hi. What are you talking about? Witches? Demons? Who told you about that? Ki-hi-hi-hi. I heard it from Beatrice herself. Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi. Maria kept doing that unpleasant laugh. However, the servants who watched over this didn't even blink. She heard it from that witch in the portrait adorning the entrance hall. Maria kept on laughing in a weird voice as though this was nothing more or less than the truth. Maria, it might be rude to ask, but I'll ask one more time, okay? Who gave you that letter yesterday? I got it from Beatrice. How many times have I told you? How many times must I tell you before you understand? Seriously, go in, Maria. Get him. You don't get it, do you? You can't see it. You can't believe it, can you? Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi. Just then, Maria's laughter suddenly stopped. Battler, you still don't understand. Beatrice-sama exists. She exists, you say. But where? Like I said, Beatrice-sama exists here. That's right. Now that I think about it, I've been feeling for a while now that the servants' eyes haven't been pointed in quite the right direction. I'd figured they were staring absent-mindedly, but that wasn't the case. Ooh. The four here, Genji-san, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san, and Maria, everyone except me, was looking at a spot right behind me. Ooh, that's creepy. Holding my breath tightly, I slowly looked over my shoulder. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I've known that the whole time. However, everyone in the room except me was focusing on that point as if there was someone there. Beatrice is the mighty golden witch who has lived for 1,000 years. But since she can't show her form to humans of the wrong wavelength, she can't talk to them. And you know what? That's really sad. It means she truly despises it when people like you, who were born without a fragment of the ability needed to sense magic, deny that she exists. You tell him. You're lucky, Battler. Good thing I gave you that charm yesterday, right? Don't you realize what kind of curse Beatrice would have put on you by now if you hadn't been carrying it around? You really are lucky, Battler. Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi-hi. Oh, that scorpion keychain. I thought that was just some cheap gift or something, but are you saying it really had some power? Ki-hi-hi. If it weren't for that, you'd be lying in that storehouse as a sacrifice with your face crushed in by now. Oh, charming. Ki-hi-hi-hi, you're so lucky, Battler. Ki-hi-hi-hi. I see. So if it weren't for that, I'd have been killed by now. Battler, why don't you believe in Beatrice? Even though she exists. Right now, over there. Look. Ki-hi-hi-hi-hi. Hey, I'll bet you want to believe it now. Believe it. And thank me for giving you that charm. If it weren't for that, you'd be in the storehouse right now. But then, maybe you would have saved someone else in exchange, right? Hee. Right then I burst into laughter. Playing witches had been pretty fun up until a second ago, but unfortunately that last one seemed to be too much for me to gloss over. Ha ha ha. Then it's all useless, isn't it, Maria? If that's true, then I'm sorry, but it's all useless. When Maria saw me suddenly start laughing, she stopped. Even though she didn't understand what I was laughing at, she realized it wouldn't be pleasant for her. I thought it might hurt you, so I didn't say it earlier, but... well, I thought I'd put that charm you gave me in my pocket, but I must have dropped it somewhere. Oh dang, Battler! So the charm can't be the only reason I'm alive now, and even though I should have been cursed by the witch, I'm perfectly fine. Sorry, but I don't believe in things I don't see with my own eyes. Sixth senses? Wavelengths? Magic sensitivity? Sorry, but I don't believe in fake stuff like that. When I hear the girls in class start talking about how good or bad their ability to see the supernatural is, it pisses me off. I don't know how much grandfather is paying you, but if you're trying to talk me into joining some cult, believe me, you won't be able to do that easily. Oh, he's so thick-headed. Same canon. Battler-sama. You guys are free to believe whatever you want. However, when it comes to things I believe, the one who decides is always me. Sorry, but I can't believe in something as shady as Beatrice until I've seen her with my own eyes. I spoke forcefully and sharply. Then Maria started cackling again. Hee. Well, that's just fine, isn't it? Eventually, even people like you with totally mismatched wavelengths will be able to see Beatrice. Oh, nice. Very soon, she will revive. Beatrice will revive. Once that happens, she's promised to talk with me and play with me a lot. There'll be absolutely no need for you to doubt or for us to force you to believe. She will appear very soon, hopefully. Hee. Alright, actually, we'll end this episode here. It's close enough to the time. And let's find out what Natsuhi is doing with her giant gun in the next one. See ya.